I mean, obviously the competitive spirit in me, it's still there. I want to be good. I want to compete. I want to, if the next summer comes with tournaments and if I strap on my skis, if I find the time, I want to be in, I want to be able to tell myself I've done everything possible during winter to be in shape and compete and perform my best.
Hello everyone. Welcome back or welcome to the Waterski Podcast. This is Matteo, your host, and the goal of the Waterski Podcast is to promote water skiing. And I almost always tend to do that through conversations with people in the sport, people interested about the sport, skiers of any level, amateurs, pros, drivers, judges, tournament organizers, just anyone that wants to talk water skiing, really. And this episode is with a dear friend of mine, Claudio Köstenberger, a pro skier from Austria, whom, due to same age and proximity, I ended up sharing a lot of my skiing journey with, particularly in the junior ranks and throughout college. Now, sadly, because of life, I guess, we don't get to hang out as much as we used to, but it was certainly a pleasure to sit down virtually and catch up with him, hearing his story, some bits of which I wasn't particularly aware of, and then, the first part of this episode really covers his journey into skiing, and the second part is a little bit more, let's say, bits and pieces of ideas and opinions that Claudio shares about certain things, such as, how the zero off works in jump, or taking part in the US Masters, like his quest for a podium finish or a win at the European Championships. So we talk about a lot of that, and it was certainly a fun, long-winded conversation where some personal stories came up, some reminiscing as well, but super fun guy to be around with. For any of you that know Claudio, you'll see a lot of him in this conversation. Conversation that is brought to you by the Whisper Fin Pro. The Whisper Fin Pro is the latest product coming from the hard work of Jay Poscente, also known as KJ, the man and pen behind the successful book Fin Whispering, Demystifying the Black Art of Water Ski Tuning. You should get that book. It features yours truly on the cover. Wink, wink. The Whisper Fin Pro is the second iteration of an already successful product, the Whisper Fin. This tool has been used by skiers of all levels to step up their game and reach new PBs, including pro water skier Elisabeth Montavon, one of the recent guests of this show. The Whisper Fin Pro maintains the same easy turns and acceleration as the original, but with more tail hold and consistency at maximum lean angles, like when you're scrambling around your hardest passes. I've been playing around with the Whisper Fin for a while, doing various testing sessions, also recently, and I must say I was surprised by the speed and especially the sharpness of the onside turns, like really best onside turns I've ever turned were with the Whisper Fin. And what I love about it, especially for people who are not particularly proficient in ski tuning, is the ease with which you can set this thing up. So go on www.finwhispering.com and pre-order your Whisper Fin Pro today. And if you have family or friends who would like the Whisper Fin, you can use the promo code TWSP, all caps, at checkout. And you can add as many original Whisper Fins as you like to your order for only $99 each while supplies last. Whisper Fin Pro, yes, you can buy a better game. Now, let's get right into the interview with Claudio. Super good one again. I had a lot of fun recording this with him, and I had the sense that he did also. So I hope that transpires in the interview. Enjoy and see you next week. All right, Claudio, my friend, welcome to the Waterski Podcast.
Hello, Matteo.
Hey, good to have you here, man. I know you've been listening for a while, and I'm finally glad that, despite we're not too far from each other, um, but we're still doing this online. I'm glad we're doing it. We're having a conversation. How are things?
Things are good. I mean, Austria's in lockdown right now, so I got lots of spare time to talk to you.
Well, nice. I'm glad I'm privileged you decided to use it to speak to me. How are you entertaining yourself apart from, if I know you, PlayStation and push-ups?
Yeah, I'm lucky. We last year we built a little gym entertainment room downstairs, so I got my workout gear down there. Got the PlayStation. We're doing a lot of building around the house, so there's always something to keep me busy.
On the Köstenberger Avenue, right? Is it avenue or street?
Place square.
Square. Oh, okay,
Yeah.
square, proper. Nice. So look, I think we might as well just get started with the story. You know how this works. So how'd you get into water skiing?
Well, I guess it's not the typical route that most skiers go. Most skiers come to skiing through family. In my family, absolutely nobody skis or skied before. Um, you've been to my place. You see where I've grown up. My house is halfway up on a mountain. At the bottom of the mountain, there's a nice big lake. In Austria, everybody snow skis, so I was professional.
Right.
I was training to be a professional snow skier. And during summer break, when I was 7 years old, my parents decided I need to do something else. Then obviously there's snow skiing. So they sent me water skiing. It was a bit through one of my school friends back then. You might remember her, Anna Possel.
Yep. Yeah, I remember her.
She used to be a pretty good skier, and our parents were pretty good friends. And they said, "Claudio, you go skiing." And I was not a fan. I was crying, fighting my parents. I was 5 or 6 years old, so it was like I
Right.
just didn't want to do it, and they forced me to, and now I'm really happy they did.
Right, right. So I had no idea that you were the first one in your family to water ski.
Yeah, so my parents had never skied before, and nobody of my family really. My dad started skiing a little bit. He did like 5 or 6 sets until he got hurt, and that was his skiing career. And after me, my sister picked it up, and I mean, she went to university with us in Louisiana. One of my sisters, the other sister, she skied quite a bit as well. We were all in the Austrian junior development team, and yeah, we kind of got stuck with skiing. Now we're still here.
Yeah, yeah, no, and I want to hear the whole journey, and I'm excited because despite we've known each other for a long time, I had no idea that. I thought your story was kind of like the usual, dad skied, I like it, I took it seriously. So, were you like, what was the first year or two of water skiing? Did you end up liking it, or was it still something a little bit forced, let's say?
I mean, it was for me. It was just the first day. I cried and I fight. I thought my parents maybe because I guess I was afraid I wouldn't be able to do it or something like that. And I got up on the first try, and from then on, I loved it really.
Okay,
And
so
I really got into it right away.
okay, perfect. And so, how long did you continue doing both snow and water skiing, or at least because I know you still do both, but I mean in terms of like,
Competitive.
competing, yeah.
Well, when I started water skiing, obviously it was just exercise in the summer to be active during the summer for snow skiing. And I continued to compete at snow skiing till I was like 14, 15 years old. But from the age of 11, 12 years old, I really started to like the water skiing more because the community is just, it wasn't as competitive. It's a family. I mean, you guys, the people listening, you guys know water ski is a family sport. We all stick together. We are happy for each other. And with snow skiing in Austria, it's so competitive, really ultra competitive. We were even with 12-year-olds that it was just not fun, and
Ah.
I wasn't winning, so that didn't help either.
Yeah. So a mixture of environment and lack of performance. But I mean, at the same time, I mean, one could argue that Austria is like the best place to breed a snow skier. So
I mean, especially the region I'm from. The two people I competed with, they're skiing on the World Cup right now. One guy won the Olympics twice, so
okay.
I mean, there's some pretty good skiers I had to compete with, so that's a good excuse not to make it as a snow skier.
Yeah, but you, what made you? So you said like from 12 to like 14, 15, you still competed, which means you still trained, right? What was the motivation there?
Well, I don't really remember. I mean, I still love skiing. Snow skiing, it's great fun. I enjoy it. And maybe it's just the competitive side that I didn't enjoy too much. You go to on the starting dock at water skiing, people, they have fun, they talk to each other. And for snow skiing, it was like we'd get up on the mountain. It's freezing cold outside, so that's no fun to begin with. And you get up on the start, and there's like in your group, the age groups are like 2 years together. So in one age group, the age group I competed in, it was maybe like 60 or 70 kids, just regional.
Wow.
And just regional. And you get up there, and the runs all they had. I mean, you'd have BIP 200, so there's 200 people going down the slopes before you. Basically, it's just bumps, and the slope's just crap. And still, on the starting dock or on the start up there, you want to make friends with other kids, but the parents of them, they're like, don't talk to him, he might tell you a secret, he might tell him how you wax the ski. So it's just really ultra competitive, and it was no fun.
Huh. It's funny, like it sounds to me a lot, at least from being from Italy, it sounds a lot like soccer parents, like
Yeah, probably even more so, because with the soccer, I guess you're in a team, you have a coach, and then you're a little bit off on your own. But with the snow skiing, you don't have equipment managers yet, and there's lots of skis you have to bring along, you have to prep your skis, so everything you do is basically with your parents, and the parents have so much invested, so they really want to get the most out of you, and maybe that drives a lot of parents to be too competitive.
yeah, that side I meant, like too competitive of parents. Were your parents like that?
Not really. I mean, my dad wanted me to do good, but if I didn't go according to plan, he was fine with it. He was not pushy. He was not like, because he was the one who was with me. My mom doesn't ski that much, but my dad was with me all the time, and he would never be like, don't talk to that guy, it might tell him a secret. He wanted me to have fun still.
Yeah. Which that's, I mean, I know it's probably like part of being an Austrian citizen, but like it seems to me like your whole family knows skis to a certain extent, right?
Yeah. Yeah, my mom, she's from Switzerland, which is also a snow skiing country, but she never got into snow skiing until she met my dad. So she didn't start skiing till she was in her 30s, and her knees are really bad, so she can't do it. And both my sisters, my older sister, she enjoys it. My younger sister, she doesn't really go snow skiing at all.
Okay.
I mean,
I was wondering, like, because like you talked about being 7 years old, like into competitive snow skiing, 12 years old already fading away from performance. These are young ages, so I was wondering if you got into snow skiing more through family passion, like as a regular water skier that we have heard of would do, or if it was just like the culture in your region, like if you grow up you're gonna be a snow skier.
It's probably the culture in our region.
Okay.
Yeah, as I told you, there's our region. The region I'm talking about, it has like 200,000 people in it, maybe, that live there. And as I said, in this 2-year window, just the guys, there's 60, 70 people competing snow skiing. So,
Nuts.
I mean, that's the majority. Every kid basically snow skis and does racing at one point. They all fade out.
Yeah.
And they get fewer and fewer, but in the beginning, basically everybody snow skis and competes at it.
Okay. So at what point did water skiing sort of took precedence for you,
Well, I mean, since in Austria, the seasons are really, winter season or snow skiing season is from December till April. Water skiing season is from whenever it's warm enough, which is usually, in the beginning, it was June till October. Now we try and extend it as much as we can from April till November. We skied this year.
Nice.
So it was really separate, so it didn't really affect each other. It was more like I didn't enjoy the snow skiing anymore, and I decided to pick up another sport. I started playing hockey a little bit, but it was just, I didn't enjoy it anymore. And the water skiing, obviously I enjoyed much more.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. What were your like? Give us an idea. So, were you skiing, water skiing at the lake underneath your house at first, or how
Yes, it
were your first
was.
days of water skiing?
Yes, it's a big, massive public lake. Um, you can see down, like you can really look down to the starting dock from our house, and yeah, the first, I don't know when, the first 5 6 years on the big public lake until I was able to run. Maybe I was running 52K in the big course, and from there on they have a training site, Lendorf. It's a gravel pit where they have a man-made lake now. That's when I started going there and start skiing there for a little bit, like once or twice a week, and maybe from age 13, 14, when I started getting into the Austrian national team, that's when I started seeing on man-made lakes.
Okay, okay. Did you start jumping in the big lake, or was that something that came afterwards?
Yeah, started jumping on the big lake. It was my first few jump sets. I mean, if you tell people about that now, they're like, people go crazy. Basically, it was a bunch of 16-year-olds that were jumpers at the time. They just had their license, their boat driver's license. They're like, you're jumping now. And I was 11 years old, and I'm like, I don't want to. And they're like, you're jumping now. Are we gonna, or we'll make you feel it, I was like, oh, I guess I'll do it. And they didn't even bother blowing the ramp. It was 5.5 right away. They went through the course, 48K, no problem. You go over. And
Wow.
obviously, I crashed the first time, and it didn't hurt at all. So it's like, oh, whatever, let's do it again. And from there on, I was a jumper, I guess. But if you tell that people now, parents go crazy now. It's like, oh, we go as slow as possible and lower the ramp as low as it goes. But it didn't hurt me.
No, and yeah, a bit of like a U.S. collegiate style of jump approach, like okay,
Yeah.
go,
Yeah, I was skiing for 4 or 5 years, so at least I was pretty proficient on two skis now.
You knew how to hold the handle, yeah. But damn, and so what was jump like from then on the event that you were sort of sold onto? Was it more slalom? Were you trying to be an overall skier? Like, what was that early experience?
Well, I mean, once I started getting into jump, I liked it, but I was always actually the first discipline my first Austrian national junior title was in trick skiing.
No
Yeah.
shit.
Yeah, I mean, if you know me now, trick is probably not my favorite discipline, but back then it was. I guess I won my first title and I was really excited about it, and yeah, it was, well, it got me focused more and more, and I don't know what happened, but now trick's definitely not it anymore.
Growth sprout,
Yeah.
Well, that's what it was.
No, but it was always after under 14, after going to my first international tournament, where I realized, okay, you have to say, okay, in Austria, if you trick 1,400 points as under 14 back in the day, you won the national. So that was exciting. After going to my first international tournament, tricking 1,400 points, not even going anywhere close to the final, I was like, maybe I should focus a little more on slalom and jump.
Yeah. Now, one of the things. Well, no. Let's talk about that international tournament. Which one was it? Where was your first time, like, sort of going outside of Austria and skiing?
First time outside of Austria. I mean, I'm sure we went to Italy a few times to Rechedo.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember. Maybe it was under 14. I was 13 years old or so, and then we went to Slovakia. But I remember my first Europeans. They were in. That's actually when the first time I met you in Belgium, Vilvoorde.
Yep.
Remember your hair?
Yeah, I remember my hair. The Italian mohawk.
Exactly. No, that was the first time I met you. That was my first Europeans. That was in 2001, I think.
2002. Actually, 2001 was Austria. I can't remember where exactly. Maybe Lendorf.
It was Lendorf.
It was Lendorf. Yeah.
I remember it was very upsetting. I didn't get picked, and the Austrian team actually didn't send the full team to that tournament.
What?
And
at home?
I missed out the cut by like half a buoy, and the Austrian Federation didn't send me. which was very upsetting because I could have stayed at home. I literally would have cost them nothing, and they decided to go with a 3 people team instead of 4.
Damn. Well, we won them back because actually I had a similar experience that year. I was injured, but then I sort of got back and I was skiing really well. And Claudio, my coach, not you, called the federation coach and said, "Hey, Matteo is actually back. He's skiing well." And it was one of them things like, "Oh, the team is already set. Go figure out what it was." And I didn't get to ski, but I went to a ranking tournament that weekend and outskied what won that European there. So I'm like, in your face. But yeah, so Vilvoorde, man, what a place. Huh? Remember like the washing machine floating around and all that shit?
I remember, I mean, just getting there, the Austrian team did it Belarusian style. We drove, I think it was 12-hour drive to get there, and we got there, and I was sitting in the front. I got out, I was all excited, my first Europeans, and I was holding onto the car, and one of the guys, he slammed the door right on my finger, so I cracked a couple of fingers. And then you get there and you're all excited. On the one side is the power plant, and the other side the crematorium. Yeah, the water is absolutely nasty, and I definitely hit something with my slalom when I was dropping after my 14-meter pass. I hit something with my fin. It's just not a good place.
No, it wasn't. But what did that leave a mark for you? Like first Europeans, like was that when you said, okay, this is the event I'm gonna focus on, or?
Not necessarily that's what I want to focus on, but it just made me realize how much fun it is to go travel internationally with the team, how exciting it is to meet different people from other countries like I met you, and it pretty much sold me on this is what I want to do. I want to train, I want to get better, I want to compete, I want to win medals, and it helped me a lot to motivate to continue skiing.
Yeah, I think that's one of the great function of junior Europeans, you know, like that. It's a big event actually, because if you consider that it's U14, U17, it's Europe, so for the most part reachable, right? Like you might have like 130 kids that are junior Europeans, you know, like it makes you feel part of something big and cool.
No, exactly, and it was very, very exciting to be part of it. And as I said, it motivated me to keep going. And a lot of the people I met there are still good friends now. So, I mean, crazy to think about it, but...
Yeah, but that's the cool one of the cool aspects of it, for sure. How did those Europeans go for you?
Oh, I mean, I made finals in jump and slalom. I was far off any medal, but for me, making finals, that was really exciting. And just, you know, going there, and I was like, oh, you won, I remember. And I was like, oh, these guys, slalom, they run 2 passes more than me, they're so good. And then back in the day, they didn't have the ranking lists on the internet, so you'd go to the site and you'd have those little booklets, and you'd have your scores in there, you have to give to the judges. And then on the last day before the tournament starts, you put out the list with the best scores, the ranking scores, and you go up and down the list, and you see this guy Critchley, I know this guy, he jumped 40 meters, oh my god.
It's true.
How does he do that?
That's true. I remember, like that feels like ancient history where you showed up and you found out at the tournament what the ranking was. I had no idea before, you know. That's true.
It was pretty good, and like the continue. I think they had that till I was at least last year under 17. So you'd have that little booklet, and
the white and red one, you know.
If you get a personal best, you'd have to go to the chief judge, and he'd have to sign it to confirm that the score is correct.
Yeah, it really feels like ancient history, actually. But damn, 2 finals. It's no joke.
Yeah, I was pretty happy about that, and yeah, I mean, I didn't do much, but for me, I think I even skied PBs in both events to make the finals. So yeah, definitely a good trip for me.
Sweet. Who after, like, I guess skiing at who were your first influences, both at the ski club at home and after you started skiing in like man-made lakes?
Well, I mean, when at the ski club at home, were the 16-year-old boys. I mean, they're a little bit older than me. They were pushing me. I wanted to be as good as them, and I knew I had to ski good to be, you know, able to hang out with them. So they definitely influenced me. They pushed me. And then once we started going to to the man-made lakes, I'm trying to think of. Obviously, the coach back then was Mikey.
Yep.
Mikey Wienerreuter. He still does it now. He basically ran the whole junior development, and he still does it now. Runs the Austrian junior development program, and yeah, he was a big supporter. First real coach. Then Britta, she was involved with Landorf a lot. She helped me out a lot. Then Jared was there every now and then coaching. Yeah, those were the people that, I mean, really, I guess, started to see a talent in me and try to push me forward to do some more skiing.
Yeah. I mean, those are obviously, well recognizable names. But you said you were going only twice a week to Landorf. So would it be one of them things where you would ski there and then go home and practice at home? Or was it just you were skiing twice a week in Landorf and that was it?
No, we were practicing every day. It was just, we only had the opportunity to go to the man-made lake once or twice a week.
Okay.
Just because there's so many skiers, and since I was younger, and with the slower you go, the easier it is to still ski on big public lakes. If you start going 58k or start jumping, the further you jump, the more dangerous it gets. So those guys obviously had they were allowed to go there more often than I was.
Yeah, got it. All right, so you come back from Vilvoorde, couple of finals, slalom and jump. How were your junior years? Like, did you progress in both equally, or did jump take over during your junior years?
No, the only thing that really fell back was my tricking. After Vilvoorde, I realized there's not much I could do in tricks, so I really tried to focus. I mean, I was 13 years old,
Right.
I'm good at this, so I'm going to do a little more of this, of jumping and slaloming. So I progressed equally in both of them. Obviously, the way I'm built, I was always meant to be a slalom skier. It didn't quite turn out that way, but
You know how to slalom.
I really focused on both those events, and I was never a really good skier. I was good enough to compete, to make it to the tournaments. Like in Austria, the way it works, the way they select the team, basically they look at the scores it took to make the finals the last 5 or 6 years in tournaments, because they want a lot of people in the finals. And I was always on the verge of making or not making it, so I was never able to be in reach of a medal or anything like that. I was just there to compete, basically, to make a final, and maybe with a lucky punch I'd get like top 8 or something like that.
Well, and I'm pretentious enough to know when that all changed. But before we get there, I'm curious to hear this, because I'm involved with a kid from Südtirol now, that skis here, who has a similar story like yours. Brad as a snow skier, then Lake Caldonazzo, nice, let me do some water skiing in the summer. That took over, and now he's a very good jumper. Do you feel that your breathing as a snow skier helped you in jumping, like the two skis, the movements?
I didn't quite realize how much it has in common till a few years back. Like growing up, I didn't think there were any similarities. But then when I was like 22, 23, and I started to be a little more conscious about like the movements and all the stuff that was going on.
Yeah.
As I was growing as an athlete, I started to see similarities, and there's quite a lot of things in common. And I'm sure, if you're on two skis all winter, helps your balance, helps your feeling, and it has a lot to do with that, I'm sure.
Yeah, because I've always thought, even just from a basic, as you well know, I don't snow ski, but from a basic understanding, it's 2 versus 1, right? And I can see with this kid here, like you can so tell he's so much more comfortable with 2 sticks than 1, like it's just simple as that.
Yeah, it's just time on 2 feet.
Yeah.
It's the more time you spend on water skis, the more comfortable you get. And it's a similar movement, similar equipment. So it's just the more time you do it, the better you're gonna get at it. The more comfortable you're gonna be.
But do you think there's also like a risk factor to it? From a basic understanding of snow skiing, there's some events where the more you're willing to just go down hard, the more likely you are to win. And in a sense, in jumping water skiing, you can be as clean as you want, but eventually you're going to have to bring it down and turn later. And, like, do you think there's, I don't want to call it recklessness because it's not that, but
thrill
kind
seeker.
of, yeah, maybe.
Like a thrill seeker. Yeah, I mean, I think just if you snow ski a lot, you get used to a lot of speed, and just getting comfortable with the speed, that helps a lot. I think it's, if you're not used to speed, it always seems like it's much more dangerous than it actually is. And if you're comfortable with it, I think that helps you just with, I don't know how to say. I mean, it helps you with getting comfortable.
Yeah.
Taking more risk. It doesn't seem as much risk as you think, as other people might perceive it.
Yeah.
Does it make sense?
No, it makes a lot of sense. And I think it's peculiar to jumping water skiing, because in slalom skiing, after you get to a certain level, it's not that the comfort in speed is what you need. I mean, after a certain point, you're going to be going that speed is more about precision and timing and that sort of stuff. But like in jumping, eventually you're going to continue to go faster and faster and faster to a higher and higher and higher ramp. So yeah, no, it's, I don't know, I'm just kind of thinking with you here, but yeah, so juniors, you were the guy that made the finals, right? That's how kind of you defined yourself. When did you break through? When was it like your first medal?
My first medal, coincidentally, was at your side.
I know.
In Brescia. Now it was my second year under 21. It was the year I graduated high school in Austria, and usually I used to go to the US in springtime, train for 3 weeks, and because I was graduating as a big exam in Austria, I couldn't go. So I skied a lot at home, and I didn't expect anything at all from that season. You'd miss out on 3 weeks of practice, and you have to focus on school, so I didn't expect anything at all. And going into the season, there was this other guy, he was really good. I mean, the year before, 2 years previous, he placed at the Junior Worlds. He got second at Junior Worlds, so he was the go-to guy. And as the season started, we started training, and I think I had no expectations at all. Then Austrian Nationals rolled around, and during the week I practiced jumping, and I felt pretty good. And one day Mikey forgot to lower the ramp. So I ended up jumping 6 foot on accident, and I was like, I jumped really good. I was like, oh man, I've never been that high. It feels good. I was like, well, I guess you're a 6 foot jumper now. And at that tournament, I actually jumped a 4 or 5 meter PB, like a massive improvement. And I think it was 58 meters I jumped for the first time, and I was really excited. And the week after, we went to Brescia, going there, and I didn't expect much either. I was excited about jumping. I was finally doing better. Maybe, with 58 meters, that's a guaranteed spot in the final. And then after prelims, I ended up being third, I believe, which was very exciting. And in the final, I jumped the PB and ended up being second. So that was probably one of the best days of my life, actually.
And that was your first time over 60, right?
Yeah, first time over 60, first time a medal. I mean, I couldn't have been happier. At a site, I've been to your side. I was at your side a few times before, so no, it's close to home. It was really, really exciting. My sister, she came along just to be a cheerleader. She didn't ski, but she wanted to come along because we were all good friends, and she was a big support. And yeah, it was really, really exciting.
Yeah. What did after night final party and all that? Like, did that? Yeah, I know. Did that spark anything in you? Like, is it like, okay, now it's push time, continue? What did that experience leave with you?
I mean, obviously motivated more. I finally saw that I could compete. I was up there with them. I was able to compete for, medals at Europeans, something I had wished for my entire life, or my entire life since I was, 14 years old. It was always so exciting to see other people. I'm really happy for other people to see them win, and there was nothing I wanted more than a medal at Europeans. And after placing second, what do you want? You want to place first the next year.
Yeah.
And that summer was actually, we had the Worlds in Austria as well, Open Worlds.
That's right.
And this is the first time I got selected for open team, and I placed 13th there, jumped the PB there, and it was really, really exciting.
That's
And
right. That's right.
it's
You were first out of the finals at Worlds. I remember that.
I missed out by like 1 foot 10 centimeters or 20 centimeters. It was crazy. I didn't expect anything, but I ended up jumping really well at a home site, and sadly I missed out. But I still had a hell of a week. Some good parties there. It was good fun.
I bet. What was the distance? Like, what made you 13th?
62.5 meters.
Damn. Man, so you improved what, like 7 meters in a season?
It was 10 meters in the season.
10 meters in a season. That's insane.
Yeah, that was when I was finally able to compete. I also improved a lot in slalom. I went from a couple of 38 to 2 or 3 at 39. So, I mean, that's not quite as much of an improvement, but it actually put me on the map for being a slalom skier. I think I placed 4th at Europeans. No, that was the year after.
No, that's right. That's right. In Sweden, the year after, you made the final at a European where the finals wasn't easy to make. I don't know if you remember. It was like windy, rolly.
I was lucky there. it was windy, rolly, and I did what I was able to do, and some other people struggle a little bit with the conditions.
Yeah. Well, I don't know that lucky is the right word, but like, damn. No, yeah, that's right. That was kind of like your year of like, like skyrocketing in level.
I mean, it opened so many doors for me. I would have never been able to go to university in US because I never had any scores that would have, back in the day, got me a scholarship, and no scholarship I wouldn't be able to go. I mean, so many opportunities. It was really, really important, and I was really lucky that I was able to improve that much in that particular year, because it happens 1 year later, I'm not going to be able to go to university in the US.
Right. So you took a year off from school then?
In Austria, it's mandatory you do military service.
All right.
So it's 6 months of military service from January. That year we actually had the was it under 21 Worlds in Chile?
Yep.
And so I went to the US after that to Franz Oberleitner's place and skied with him all fall to get ready for the tournament. What a disaster that tournament was for me.
Likewise.
It was just the Austrian Federation didn't have any money for the tournament, or they didn't plan spending any money in the tournament. So I was basically having to pay my own way, no coach. I had to fly there by myself, and I wanted to train as long as I could in Florida with France. So I flew, I think, the day before the tournament. It happened to be New Year's Eve. And I flew my dad obviously bought the cheapest flight possible from Orlando to Panama to Lima to Chile overnight, over the 31st. So I flew out of Orlando, that was fine, got to Panama, and there's a bunch of people at the gate. I'm like waiting, and there's no personnel there. There's nobody working there. And the flight's supposed to leave in a half an hour. Nobody's there. The flight's supposed to leave that second, and there's nobody there still. And then finally someone shows up, and he's like, well, we're sorry, the pilot didn't show up. He didn't feel like flying today. So
what?
Yeah, it was just, I mean, it was New Year's Eve. I guess he wanted to party. So they stuck us in a hotel downtown. I was all by myself. I was 18 years old, first time traveling to South America, didn't speak a lick of Spanish.
Jump bag, like
everything. I mean, it was absolute disaster. And in Panama City downtown, they were celebrating all night. I think I slept like 5 minutes. And then the next day, got to the airport, tried to get to Chile somehow, because the tournament started the next day, and registration had closed. I mean, it was just a disaster.
Wow.
Makes you appreciate going to tournaments with a team, or a team manager, or a coach, someone to take care of things around
Yeah, it does.
You don't have to do everything yourself.
Yeah, so I'm assuming that after that whole experience, I mean, I can't remember you exactly, but didn't go super well for you at Worlds.
I made the final. I mean, I was ranked number 1 in the world at the time with that 62-meter jump. So I had high expectations. I trained for 3 months in Florida. I was jumping really well, but just going there, I wanted too much. And I actually remember asking Bubu, the Italian coach, hey man, I'm here on my own. Do you mind having a look and telling me a few things? And he was nice enough to help me. I guess the Italians had no jumper in the final, so there was no conflict of interest, but still.
Yeah. Well, no, I wasn't gonna make the jump final. Actually, maybe Lorenzo did, but I mean, Bubu wouldn't have cared. So you made the final and then it didn't work out.
No, I crushed out 3 times. I don't know. I don't remember. I think I jumped 54 meters. It was not enough. Big disappointment.
Yeah.
And I mean, after that, the party, you party anyways. You have a good time. But the next day I had to get up in the morning, organize my trip to the airport. And what was waiting for me in Austria was the military. So basically landed straight to a hairdresser. They shaved my head into the military. 6 months of military service.
You guys in the mountains haven't gotten away from military service. Like, is it still mandatory in Austria?
It's either military service or you do some like social work. For me, it was, if I complain about the military service, it's I shouldn't complain because you have to do a 4-week boot camp, and then usually it's the remaining 5 months you basically do regular work and help out. Like if there's a catastrophe, you have to work, and if there's snow, you have to go get rid of snow. Unless you're an athlete, you get into some kind of sports program where you basically just have to show up once a week, tell them that you're training, and that's all.
And that's the deal you got?
There. Yeah.
Nice.
You get paid, and I actually was able to go to the US for 2 months, so it's not that bad at all.
Yeah, no, clearly. No, because I got out of it. So we're both like 1988 year of birth, and a law passed in Italy where 1986 and younger didn't have to do mandatory military service anymore. So I got barely squeaked out of that. But then I remember, common friends of ours like the Lambrigers in Switzerland.
In Switzerland, it's way different.
Yeah, like a year or 2 years,
Yeah, in Switzerland, it's crazy. They have to go, because my mom's Swiss, as I said. She used to tell me the stories about her dad having to, like, once a year go in for like 2 weeks, and they have the gun at home, and then they have to go in and do the military service for another 2 weeks every year.
Yeah,
or something crazy like that.
Well, the price you pay for being independent.
I guess so.
Oh man. So you got back from Worlds and then went to military.
Yeah, I was straight into military style. It was a little bit of change of lifestyle from Florida ski school to military.
Yeah, clearly. So it sounds like that, like up until you ended up moving to Louisiana for college, you were still going to Florida in the spring to train.
Yes, it was 3 weeks usually.
Yeah, no, it's good starter of the season, right?
Definitely. It was something that kind of kept the motivation going through winter. Except for 1 year. 1 year, I was 14 or 15 years old. I really didn't want to ski anymore, I wasn't motivated,
Yeah.
It's just that age when you start going out, hanging out with friends, and if you want to compete at water skiing, basically all you hang at a lake all day. You don't have time for anything else if you're committed.
Yeah.
And that year I went, and I was over at Jared's and Britta's place. I was skiing there, and I was not motivated at all. And when I came back, I was actually really lucky. It's fun. I mean, lucky. I got really sick. I had mono, and I was really, really bad. I was in bed for like a month and a half, and that's just when the season in Austria kicked off, and all my friends were skiing. They were having a good time, and it made me real jealous and realize how much I really enjoyed skiing and how much I wanted to do this, and it really reignited the fire. And I think if it wasn't for that, I might have stopped skiing.
Wow.
I might have stopped being, maybe I would have picked up another year, but that year really ignited my fire, and I was being really competitive again.
Yeah, and that's a key year. I mean, now if you were to lose a year of water skiing, it's not a big deal. But like at that age, 14, 15, like you're developing so much. Like you could have taken so many different directions, right? Well, I'm glad to hear that mono redirected you on the skis.
Oh man, it was. When it happened, I was really, really, really upset, and it just. In hindsight, looking back at it, it was probably the best thing that happened to me.
Yeah, I can see that.
For my skiing career.
Yeah, no, nobody wants to stay in bed for a month, but yeah, for your skiing, it worked out. So, and then, you do your military and off you go to the US for college. Is that how it goes?
Basically, yes. Yeah, I applied to, as you do as a European skier, you apply to Monroe, Louisiana, you apply to Lafayette, Louisiana Lafayette, and I applied to both schools and got scholarship offers from both of them actually. Uh, and I ended up deciding going to Lafayette mostly because my better friends like you, Alvaro, people I just knew a little better were there.
Yeah.
And I wanted to bring my sister along. And in Monroe, I asked if she could come. She was a fairly decent skier, not scholarship level, but she just wanted to compete and ski and train. And in Monroe, they said they wouldn't be able to have her ski on the bayou at all. And in Lafayette, they're like, have her come, ski as much as she wants. If she makes a team, she makes a team. If not, she can still train. So
yeah, and we know how that ended up. But I'm a little confused on the dates because Ramona, your sister, is 2 years younger than you. You finished
year and a half.
A year and a half. Okay. Because I thought, like if you finished school and then did a year off / military, how could she have possibly been joining you? But I guess...
No, we were just one school year apart. Like
there you go.
I was close to the cutoff date for being another year early, and she was just towards the end of her year. So.
Okay, no, that makes sense. And you came, so you came to Lafayette, you spent 2 years doing pre-pharmacy, and then you went to Monroe for your pharmacy doctorate degree. Now, did you know ahead of time that was the plan?
Yeah, as much as you know when you're 18 years old.
Yeah,
of course. I want to go to university, and wanted to do pharmacy. They didn't have a pharmacy program in Lafayette, I knew that, but I knew I could always transfer. So I went there and I started doing it, and after 2 years I knew I wanted to do pharmacy, and I knew that chances were much bigger on making it into pharmacy school if you finish your pre-pharm studies at Monroe, at the school where you want to attend the pharmacy school. So that's why I transferred after 2 years.
Okay. So the pre-pharmacy degree was actually finished in Monroe, and then you applied there for pharmacy.
Yeah, it was usually the pre-pharm takes 3 years. For me, because I don't know. I mean, it's messed up. The Louisiana school system, they should be working together, but the people in Lafayette didn't know which course I had to take for pharmacy school in Monroe, so I took a bunch of wrong classes I had to retake in Monroe. So it took me 4 years, and I actually finished with a bachelor in biology in the meantime, and it all worked out.
Oh, okay. Pharmacy, interesting choice.
Yeah.
No, I mean,
who would have thought?
Yeah, no, I have no idea. Like, what brought you there?
No, I was always interested in chemistry, biology, natural sciences, and pharmacy sounded cool, and I took a few courses. That's a good thing about school in the US. You go, you take courses. You have to take, a bunch of other courses as well. So if it's not for you, you can always switch. And I took those courses. I took chemistry, biology, physics, and they all I was really interested in them, so I stuck with pharmacy.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. No, I was just curious of what brought you to that choice. First 2 years in Lafayette. What was the beginning? What do you give the stories you want?
What a ride! I mean, you were there firsthand. We basically lived together for those 2 years.
We did.
Just going to the US, my parents obviously were freaking out. They were sending 2 of their kids over to the US.
Yeah.
We brought massive suitcases. My mom, she made us pack everything. We brought linen and everything, like stuff you can buy, and we just bought way too much stuff. I think at the airport we paid $1,000 overweight on our first trip there.
Okay.
And then we got there and we didn't have a place or our own place, so we went. You, John Mommer, and Brooke Smith, I think, were the people living in, back then, the White House.
Yep.
807 East University, I'll never forget. We got there and we went there and we were able to crash with you guys. Starting off with a couple of weeks in, Hurricane Gustav hit. So we had to evacuate. It was crazy. Not settled in, not have our own place, and we had to evacuate.
That's right.
Which, that was a really interesting trip. I knew you, I knew Alvaro, but the rest of the team I didn't really know. And so we made this trip, and I think we drove 10 hours north till we finally found a place we were able to
crash in.
Crash in, yeah, and getting locked into a hotel room for 3 days with basically 4 strangers. You get to know each other real quick. And obviously we had some parties. It was good fun though.
Yeah, and I remember that very well because we were just a little bit like, where the hell do we go? So we basically drove north.
Yeah.
We drove north.
I remember I hadn't even like, for me, it was easy to pack because all my stuff was still in a suitcase. I just tossed the suitcase in the back of your truck and we went and we took off.
Speaking of the back of my truck, I guess, because I think my thing with you is like I have to select the stories carefully. But I think this one we can tell. So do you remember when they stopped us on the way back? You were like driving my
97.
truck.
97, yeah. It was good. Yeah, we were coming back from the place we were.
Greensboro, what is it? Greensboro, Mississippi, or something like this.
It was somewhere in Mississippi. We were going back and we heard through, like, we call our friends in Lafayette and they're like, oh yeah, you got to come back. You can come back, but there's a curfew. So we went back and we got to make it. We got to make that curfew. So we were hauling ass and we were going like 97, 100 miles an hour on 70 or 65
on a really like my truck wasn't the most safe vehicle, I would say, to do that kind of speed.
And obviously I was following another car and they were going really fast, and sure enough the cop pulls up and he pulls me over. The other guys, they're off, they made it, and he pulls us over. And this guy comes out and like, where are you guys going? And we're trying to make it back. And he looked in the back of the truck and there's like empty boxes of beer or full box of beer. I don't remember. It was just some.
There was a lot of like empty booze. Alcohol containers. Yeah.
And none of us are 21. So it's like, oh no.
On top of that, yeah, that's right.
This is a disaster. No, and he was very nice and he understood our situation and let us off.
Yeah, but I think that's the coolest part of the story. Like, because he asked who's the vehicle. It was mine. Even though I wasn't driving, and the guy was fairly old, like the officer was like in his 70s, I would say, and so he's already confused about what's going on, and then you show up with the Austrian trifold paper license. Yeah. At that point he has no idea what's going on. Yeah. And he basically goes, okay, you guys be careful, you know. Yeah. And then we diverged to Monroe because we would have never made that curfew.
No, they stopped us in Alexandria, which is halfway between Monroe and Lafayette. We stopped at this, I remember it was this sketchy gas station where everybody was only allowed to fill up $20 because obviously everybody needed gas. And we got in, going into that gas station, it smelled so bad. They were holding livestock in there. It was like pigs, they're selling pigs and chicken out of the gas station. I was like, what the hell's going on? Where have I landed? Coming from Europe. I had no clue what was going on. And then we were stranded in Alexandria and we called our friends up in Monroe and they're like, yeah, sure, come up, we'll have a party and we'll host you guys for one night.
Yeah, that was your introduction to Louisiana, your first 2 or 3 weeks there.
Yeah, it was crazy. It was, first of all, getting used to, we learn English in school, but Louisiana English is different.
It's different.
It's not the school English we learn. And there was a bit of a culture shock, but being with you guys made it really cool.
Yeah,
it was good fun.
Yeah, it was good fun. And I think what was cool about that year was there was a lot of new skiers, right? Like it was you, Ramona, Tomo, Stine, and Tiare. Yeah, there was a lot of new skiers. So you had a group of freshmen to share your your first few months with.
No, we definitely lived it up there.
Yeah, we definitely did. Now, question that I've asked others. Collegiate skiing, like, did you know that it was what it is? Like, you had any idea?
I had no idea, no clue. Even up until the first tournament, I had no clue. We were up at the airport lake. We were practicing. We were getting ready, and then the first tournament rolled around, and we went out to Bennett's, which was an hour east of. Yeah,
about an hour and a half east. Yeah.
And I had never been there, and I walked up there, and it's like, wow, this place. It's amazing. I love it. And we were hosting, so we were all setting up a little bit, working. And then we went for dinner with the team. I hadn't seen any other skiers. We went for dinner with the team, and Lafayette was in a bit of a transition then. They had this guy that Linda and Scott met at church. They thought he was the right guy to take over a bunch of international skiers. He was like a former football player, 20 years old or 22 years old. And yeah, he had no clue what was going on. I remember we went to Sammy's, the restaurant over there. We got in and he's like, all right, guys, I'm paying for everything. No drinks allowed. I was like, sure, we went. We all got drinks. And he's like, oh, come on, you can't do that. No, you have to pay for them yourself. So we all got drinks and just, it was, whatever you do when you're a student, having a good time at a tournament. And then just coming back to Lake from dinner, all the other teams had rolled up, all the Texas teams. And the way it was that year is just because that hurricane had come through, they were all staying at there was no hotels open, so they all had to camp on site. And there was a big tent village, and they were playing loud music, partying already. I'm like, what the heck's going on here? And our coach, he went straight to bed, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Did not tell us we're not allowed to party. And obviously, the way I am, I made sure I didn't go to bed till like 4 or 5 in the morning, and made a lot of new friends, and it was good fun. Collegiate skiing.
Yeah, exactly. No, it's definitely, it hits you if you are like you and I, like growing up, going to Europeans, going to that sort of stuff, to go to collegiate national or collegiate tournament. Let's not even talk about nationals, where like there's this, the fun seems to be the main thing, then you ski, you try to do well, but fun and enjoying the environment seems to be the number one priority.
No, definitely. I mean, just partying with those guys at night, I got to know them. They're like, oh, where are you from? I'm like, from here. What are you doing here? I'm like, ski for Lafayette. So you must be a good skier. I'm like, I don't know, I guess I don't know. I'm decent. And they're asking me, how far are you going to jump? I'm like, well, 150. They're like, you're not going to go anywhere. You're still up partying. It was 4 a.m. And then the next day, I actually experienced my first collegiate tournament. Like, people barely getting up on skis, and I was like, what the heck is going on here? I thought this was a tournament, not just a volley clinic, really. But they're all having a good time, it's great seeing people getting to skiing, loving it, and yeah, makes you really appreciate it.
Yeah, it reminds you, at least for me, it reminded me, like, how I got into the sport, why it was fun, like why it is fun. And it's cool that you have, particularly in the South Central, where you have, your Lafayettes and Monroes that are like, trying to, still try to get good performances. And the Texas teams, I'm not trying to generalize, but, like they found someone on campus, hey, you skied at Grandpa's 3 years ago? Off you go to the ramp, So
at the tournament, I remember that next day people were jumping was starting, and one of the teams that I got to know, I went over there, and they were like in a big huddle, and they're all talking, and they're cheering, and everybody's happy. And when I get closer, one of the girls, she's crying her eyes out, walking in. I'm like, what the heck? What's going on? And she's like, crying. They just pulled my name out of their hat, and now I gotta jump. And like, what's the big deal? I've only skied once. Like, she's only been up on skis once, and now they pulled her name out of the hat, and she had to jump.
That's awesome. A classic collegiate water ski story,
No, it's good fun.
So let's switch to the skiing bit of collegiate skiing for a second. What was like some highlights for you? Like, don't have to be, early, later, whenever. Just give me a few highlights for you in collegiate water skiing.
In collegiate water skiing, my first jump set already, but my first jump tournament was already very exciting. I had practiced only a couple of times, 51K, 32, 5 foot. And I went out there, and the first jump, I crushed out, and it's like 140. I was like, whatever. Oh, no. Actually, the first jump, I went out, and it was so late. And I hit the side curtain, and I got the fin stuck in the side curtain. So they had to go out and fix the jump, and my skis were all messed up. And I was like, oh, shit, what's that going to be? And then on my last jump, I actually jumped 178 or something like that, which was really decent distance back then. I was like really excited. I really like this. And then just going to tournaments, collegiate nationals, obviously every year couldn't be more fun. I placed second 3 years, or 3 of the 4 years I competed, which was very frustrating. And then, the highlight was obviously finally winning that collegiate title, individual title in California in my last year.
Oh, right. So, so you were already skiing for Monroe then, yeah?
Yeah, I did 2 years Lafayette. I placed second both years. First year I placed second to Storm, Then the second year I placed second to Zach on. He got a rewrite, and on his rewrite he beat me. And then the year after, or I sat out a year. Then I skied a year for Monroe. I placed second, then second to Zach again when he broke the record. Sat out another year, and then I skied again and was able to win that year.
See, that's what I want to ask you, because I don't think we have ever spoken about it directly, but like obviously you skied 08 and 09 for Lafayette. 09 was a bit of a weird year. We were understaffed, like, you know, it wasn't a regular ski year. I think we had Ian having his girlfriend at the time ski, and she had skied 3 or 4 times. Like, we went Texas mode, you know?
Yeah.
But then 2010, which you were already in Monroe and you had to sit out because of the red shirt, the sit out rule, we won, right?
Yeah.
What was that for you, you know?
I mean, that was... I was very excited for Lafayette. You guys were I lived with you guys for 2 years. You guys were really, really good friends. My sister was still skiing for the team.
Yeah.
And when I got to Monroe first, I got a little bit of trouble. It started off really, really bad. The first day there, I literally landed from the airport, and Kyle Damon, our GA back then, he picked me up and he's like, we got to go to the bio real quick and ski one of the girls. And I was like, sure, whatever. And coming from Europe, and I sat in the boat, and what they do there is they spray the ramp by going, they used to do that, go straight at the ramp full speed and then whip the boat around so it washes the ramp and gets the ramp wet. And what happened is I was sitting on the motor box actually, and I was holding on to the pylon, and Kyle was like, come on, sit down on the seat over here, I'm going to whip the boat. And I was like, I'm fine, whatever. And he went straight at the ramp, whipped the boat around, and I fell off, and I fell on the side of the boat, and I heard this massive crack, which I thought was the boat. And I looked at the boat's fine. I looked down, and my arm was broken in half. So.
What?
So there was it literally took me 20 minutes off the plane. In Monroe, you get off the plane, 5 minutes out, 20 minutes off the plane to going to the hospital for a broken arm. So
okay. Welcome to Monroe.
Rough start to Monroe. And it didn't matter because I was skiing wise, it didn't matter because I was redshirting anyways. But I don't know what happened, but I think I was throwing a party a week before nationals, and the leadership there didn't appreciate that because they obviously had to get ready for the collegiate nationals, and the coach then decided I was not allowed to travel with the team and go to nationals with the team, which upset me very, very much. But back then I didn't have a car or anything, but my roommate, Carly Marquez, she was nice enough to borrow me her truck, so I drove all the way to
was it Aquaplex?
Texas. It was Austin, Texas. Drove the 6 or 7 hours to Texas by myself, and basically crashed in Lafayette's room because I still knew you guys, and crashed with you guys, and I partied it up and secretly was cheering more for you guys than the Monroe people because I was pissed off that they didn't take me to come along.
Right. Yeah, no, yeah. I mean, I know you clearly and visibly you were happy about that. It was just like, you know, you had already been skiing with us for 2 years, and then you moved to this place, which, you know, made perfect sense for the journey you had set for you. But, you know, even not just being able to ski with us or with anyone, you know, like it must have been a bit frustrating.
No, definitely. I mean, but I think at the moment it was just more, I was more happy for you guys than being sad about missing out about not skiing with you guys. It was just really, really, really happy that my sister got one, you got one. Like really, I had some really, really good friends on that team. So
yeah. Yeah, no, that's true. Ramona was part of that team too, you know, so a bit of family pride as well.
For sure.
And then you set out a year, and then you skied 2 years for Monroe. Did you guys win both nationals?
Yes, I sat out that year. I skied 1 year, sat out another year, skied again. Yeah, the 2 years I skied for Monroe, we won both of them.
Boom, nice.
Yeah, so I got my own national title, which, you know, is really awesome, really exciting. Yeah, one of the best things in sport.
And you're one of the few, I don't know, maybe you count them on one hand, the guys that have been over 190 in collegiate, right?
I think so, yeah. I think it's Tom Asher, Ryan Dodd, Zach Warden, and some of the young guns. I think maybe Carlo went 190, maybe... I don't know.
I can't think of anyone else.
not that many. Maybe Taylor Garcia.
Maybe Taylor. Yeah.
Yeah.
But because and they said you went 191 is the same tournament that Zach did the national record, right?
I went 185. He went 194, but I went 193 at another tournament. 190. I went over 190 like 3 or 4 times actually.
Oh, okay. For some reason, I remember a 191, maybe Bennett's. Or maybe I'm wrong.
That was a spring tournament, Bennett's, I think, maybe, yeah. Something like that.
So obviously it's 32 5 foot, or 51 150 centimeters. Like, what does it take to go that far? Because I would say that's freaking far with such a low ramp, such a slow speed. Like, what did you adjust? Like, it's not the same jumping as 35 6 foot.
Definitely not. No, I mean, I couldn't really tell you. I mean, it was just go late, cut as hard as you can, and try and kick the ramp. I mean, it's easy.
Yeah.
It was always easy for me for some reason. I don't know. I some of the best tournament scores in collegiate skiing I'd done without any practice collegiate skiing. Like I'd do regular skiing 6 foot, and then for the tournament I'm like, let's do collegiate, and no practice whatsoever, and it worked out just fine.
Okay. But were you one of those guys that like was going narrow split at 32, and so there was some kind of adjustment.
There are a few secrets.
Yeah.
now we so Jay Bennett told us that if you go narrow split you go further, and it turned out to be true somehow. It seems like Jay knows something about jumping.
Yeah, just a couple of things. But it's I thought, well, I mean, fine. If you don't want to say the other secrets, that's fine. But like,
no, there's no secrets. I mean, that's really the only thing that's the only thing I really changed, going narrow from boat path or anything like that. And then the other thing is just try and bring it down enough so you can go as late as possible.
Yeah.
I mean, the hardest thing is with collegiate, that's probably the biggest secret, that you still have to try and maintain speed throughout your turn. If you go wide and sink, it's maybe gonna be a slingshot, but you're not gonna be able to control it as good. If you still have speed out of turn, it's gonna make you jump further.
There you go. So all you collegiate kids out there listening to this, start taking notes. All right, so let's maybe switch for a second more to the school side. Was it like a regular path? And what I mean by that is, pre-farm, degree in biology, doctoral school. Like, was it all pretty much straightforward, or were there some, hiccups along the way?
Well, except for that one thing I mentioned about, losing credits for transferring, taking some of the wrong courses, everything was pretty much straightforward. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the way it's supposed to go.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad to hear. What was how long was your doctoral degree? 4 years?
4 years, yes.
4 years. Yeah, and then you had internships afterwards.
Yeah, it's 3 years of school, and then the last year basically is just internships.
Ah, okay.
And throughout that time, you have to get like 15 hours of 1,500 hours of work experience.
Mm-hmm.
And since I was international, didn't have a work visa, I wasn't really able to get that through during school. I'm sure there would have been a way around it, but I wanted to ski, so I focused on my training and stuff, and I didn't get those 1,500 hours during school, but I had to get those after school was done.
Ah, okay. Because you technically you could have gotten them whilst you were taking the degree.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. So, all right. I'm glad to hear, because sometimes school can take a different path, or there could be some slowdowns here and there.
No, I was pretty good about staying up with school, like up to date. I like to go out, I like to party, I like to have a good time, but when it came to school, I put my head down, studied what I had to study, and got the grades I needed to get.
Yeah, no, that's a very accurate description of you, man.
I mean, you lived with me for 2 years, and it's...
Yeah. I know the cave moments, where you would just lock yourself in your room and just pound, books after books. I remember that.
I remember that was my last semester in Lafayette. I was taking a pretty heavy workload, and I had to do a lot of studying, and I tried to eliminate distractions as much as possible. Maybe was not the most social person in the world.
No. Yeah, distractions were people, like any distraction.
Yeah, I was practicing for the lockdowns we're experiencing now in Europe. It was basically what I did back then.
Yeah, pretty much, like self-imposed.
Yeah.
Yeah. So back to the skiing for a second. You get second in under 21 Europeans here. You almost make the finals at Open Worlds, and then was it Finland that you won under 21 Europeans?
Yeah, the following year, Finland under 21 Europeans is when I got my first title, which was very, very exciting.
Yeah.
To say the least. No, it was obviously after placing second at your place, it was a dream. Okay, now I gotta work hard, go and get first place, and I was able to do so in Finland. Yeah.
Do you remember the distance?
64 something. I think. I'm not exactly sure, but I think I remember I jumped it on my first jump, but I wasn't 100% sure if I made it. I was top seed, so I went out. I jumped another one, and I jumped the third one. And after the third one, they told me or whatever. I think the third one was the really far one. So after that, I went to shore, and I skied off towards the shoreline, and what I didn't expect is that there was a massive, like it was in the middle of the woods. So I let go before I get into the dock, and I had to walk through the woods for like 30, 40 meters, which was fine. I was all by myself. I was very, very happy. So
that's cool. That's cool. So that was your first European win.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Thoughts as you did?
I mean, just unbelievable. It's something I dreamed of as a kid. The moment when you get up on the podium, they play the Austrian national anthem, the team, everybody's cheering for you. I mean, and just the community, it seemed like everyone was genuinely happy for me. Maybe not Bojan, who I beat out. I mean, he's a good friend, and he won plenty of Europeans as well. But no, even he was pretty happy for me. So it was just a great moment.
Yeah. And then, so under 21 Worlds, you skied Mexico, right?
Yes.
Yeah, Mexico 9. How did that go?
Did
you have your travel plans sorted this time, or?
Yeah. This time it was because we're pretty organized, because the Austrian Federation knew I wanted to go. I was ranked pretty high, and I think I was second at that time, because Zach obviously had come on the zine, and he was jumping 230 feet, 70 meters already. But we had 3 people studying overseas in the US. My sister Tina Rauchenwald and I, so we knew we wanted to go, and so the Austrian Federation made sure they put some budget aside, and Franz went with us. Everything was much smoother and much more successful as well. I ended up actually leading after the prelims, and then Zach beat me in the final, which was probably the fairest thing, because he was just a better jumper at the time.
So you got second in Mexico?
Yeah.
Ah, that's big.
No, and it was really exciting. We came from Lafayette. The Collegiate Nationals were just a week before, which was the Nationals where Zach beat me on the rerun. So he beat me on the 4th jump there, and then in Mexico he jumped decent in the final, and on his last jump he just booted a massive one, and it was something I knew I couldn't beat. So I was sitting on the dock waiting for him to come in, and I looked at him and was like, "You bastard!" He could have made it a little more like close, so I could have at least a little bit of a chance. And he was just laughing, and it was all, we're good friends. So
yeah, of course.
But I knew when I went out, I knew I had to go for second place, which is all I was able to do.
Yeah, well, still second place at the Worlds. Yeah, you had those 2. Probably starting from here. And the remaining 2 years, like you were there, like always, looking at the top spot of the podium, then sometimes getting it, sometimes not, but like definitely competitive.
No, yeah, I was really excited about getting competitive, and on an international level with the best in the world just made me really proud. And obviously, because I put a lot of work in, it's not just like I'm not the most talented guy. I had to put my hours in the gym. I mean, you live with me. I guess I tend to overdo it, even maybe in the gym sometimes, but that's what worked for me, so I tried to stick with it as much as I could.
Yeah. No, definitely someone who hits it hard at the gym. Listen, hey, why don't we take a break and we come back for some more?
Sounds good.
Hey, I hope you're enjoying this interview with Claudio. This was a very fun recording, even though it was, via the internet. It was certainly good fun to record this interview. I just wanted to let you know that this podcast is also brought to you by the Flowpoint Method. The Flowpoint Method is the online water ski training program developed by Jenny Labaugh and Marcus Brown, one of the guests of this show. Technique, nutrition, fitness, mindset. These guys cover it all, and they have a truly holistic approach for people who are truly committed to take their skiing to the next level. They have daily and weekly updates, an extremely extensive library of videos, instructionals, and writings, and you can finally remove all the guesswork and get the most out of your time on the water. Sometimes we lose time in loopholes, thinking that we're chasing down the right thing. Well, you can remove a lot of that guesswork by joining the Flowpoint Method, both in terms of what you need physically, what you need from a nutrition standpoint, what you need technically to become the best skier you can be. You can become a member of the Flowpoint Method by going to thewaterskipodcast.com/flowpointmethod, one word, or you can click in the link in the show notes. Obviously, they have a 3-day free trial that you can check out and see if the program is for you. I'll be very surprised if this was not something that you found useful and really fundamental to help you improve in your skiing. So again, thewaterskipodcast.com/flowpointmethod, one word, or you can click in the link in the show notes. Now, break is finished. Back to the interview with Claudio. All right, Claudio, we just came back from a little break. Look, we were talking about those 07, 09 years where, you started achieving, success and podiums and wins. Now, I have a chance to speak about this with other guests, but those were also the years where, we switched from perfect pass, so not a GPS speed control system. I'm sure you remember the magnets and the bends on your slalom fin, to zero off, right? Mm-hmm. I want to ask you this because in slalom, I know, and you probably remember, it was a tough transition. The system works.
Still is.
The system works differently, like it compensates differently. Was it the same for jump? Like, was there a transition moment? Like, how did that affect you in your jumping?
To be honest, like the transition for me was not that much because I was still, coming up and improving and getting better. And as I was getting better, I was just naturally adapting to the new system. I remember when I first heard about the zero off system after I got placed second at Europeans and I went to Francis' place and I skied with him in the fall before the under 21 Worlds, and zero off hadn't come out yet, but Freddie, he was working with the development with the zero off. He called Franz. He's like, "Hey man, you mind coming over, having a jump set behind? We have this new system for you to try out." And he's like, "Yeah, sure, but I have this kid. He needs to jump as well." And Freddie was like, "Yeah, sure, whatever. Bring him along."
Right. And
so we went over to Freddie's place for the very first time, and I think it was Les Todd driving. Jason Sears was in the boat. And some other guy he was working for Zero Off, he was working the computer. Freddie was on dock. I was like, this little kid coming up, and there was these big names. First time on a dock with him, I was really nervous at Freddie's place. So I was like, I got to do really well. So I went out and I went full force. And I think those were some of my best jumps back then. I went further than I ever had before. It was like, oh. Of course, when you jump good, it's like, oh, this is the best system ever. This is good. It feels so good. It feels nice. And I think it's much nicer than the perfect pass. Just the way he picks up the jumper. A couple of years after he had come out, actually, there was some system that Olaf Butcher had developed, which was actually even better than the zero off. I don't know why it never. I mean, we used it for a few tournaments, but it never really got to use in big tournaments. Uh-huh. But he developed he actually changed the switch we use today, and we've used for 25 years now.
Yeah.
And he started using the spring, which actually measured how much you pull, and the more you pull, the more gas you got.
Yeah.
And really, direct.
Which now some listeners might not know that the regular switch is actually an on-off switch.
Exactly.
Right?
Yes, it's on off. When you pull at a certain point, when you pull hard enough, it turns on, and if you stop pulling, it turns off. With the spring, it from the first second on, it gave them the engine time to, okay, this guy's starting to pull easy. It knows right away, even before the pull really picked up.
Right.
Which is something the boats, especially weaker boats, struggle with these days. When you turn hard and you, in the beginning there's nothing, and then by the time the switch picks up, you're already so heavy on the rope that it just can't accelerate, just can't handle it, the boat.
Right. So you know, I mean, before we continue on this conversation about zero off, like first place, like was it at Freddy's place?
Yeah, it was Freddy's place. Back then, I mean, now last time I was there was maybe 3 years ago. I mean, that area just developed like crazy. There's developments everywhere, and back then it was middle of nowhere. Like you go down a dirt road to Freddy's place, and it was Karen there, and
that's funny because I was there in November. Like my dad gifted him the system he builds to raise the ramp up and down with the remote, and I got lost. Like literally, the GPS sent me in the right place, but I didn't recognize the place. Like I think the last time I went was 2009, so there was nothing, just Freddy's house and the lake.
Yeah.
And now it's like apartments, 2-lane boulevard, you know, bus stop for the kids. I'm like, where am I? You know.
No, that area has changed so much, it's crazy.
But I mean, I guess what I'm interested in is the experience. Like you kind of alluded to it. You show up to Freddy Krueger's house, you know, one could argue best jumper of all time. And I mean, I love the fact that he made you bow up, you know, like go, okay, I need to show what I can do.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, when Francis said, I got this kid, he needs to jump as well, he probably thought, you know, yeah, we need to test a few people that don't jump that far anyways. And I think I jumped 200 plus back then, or at that time, 200 plus. So it was like,
oh, that's good.
And I guess he didn't expect that, and maybe he was a little bit impressed as well. I mean, I'd hope, I don't know.
Yeah, that's cool. You know, even if you just got like a head nod from Freddy Krueger, you know, it's pretty good, you know. And so, yeah, like, and then, but you said, you alluded something about like after a few years, like what do you mean by that? So you had a good experience with zero off, right?
No, I mean, it feels, if you go back to Perfect Pass, every now and then we have, you know, when a boat breaks down, we have some old boats we use with Perfect Pass, and it's just not the same. The zero off feels much nicer. It picks you up smoother. It's a nicer system. It feels nice. I don't know how to explain.
Yeah,
it's hard to explain. It's just like the it works a little better with the turning on and off of the switch. It's not as with the Perfect Pass. It's on off, and it's full force.
Yeah.
And the zero off adapts a little bit more.
Okay. So sounded like no huge transition issues for you during those years.
As I said, I was coming up and I was improving, and as I was improving, the system changed, and I wouldn't have known if I was just getting better or if the system actually helped it. So I'd like to think I started jumping better, but it's possible that the system just, you know, worked better for me.
Yeah, no, who knows? But one of the things I wanted to ask you, because maybe I'm wrong and you can correct me on this, but like Zero Off went through a few iterations during the years, or updates, or revisions as they call them. And there has been quite a few differences in slalom. Like at first it used to be ABC, which are the time, roughly correspond to the time in which the boat compensates in slalom. Then we got the 1, 2, 3. So now you have 9 options. Then they add a plus, and then they change what the plus does. Has there been changes in jump, or is it pretty much the same as it used to be?
To be honest, I'm not 100% sure. I mean, they got the timing, they got the ladder, obviously, that stayed the same.
Yeah.
That's the same we took over from Perfect Pass. So supposedly the more you pull or the further you jump, the higher the ladder you go. And I think it's how fast it responds and how much gas you get into the bottom. Then there's 2 numbers. First number is let me see, I took some notes actually. The first number is, let me see, is the power factor, which actually sets the speed that the boat has when it enters the course. which sounds weird because we set the boat speed before we go in.
Right.
But the way the system actually works, which, if you ask me, Zero Off has quite a few problems. That's one of the problems. We use the power factor, and the lower the number is, the slower the boat is going into the course.
Mm-hmm.
I don't quite understand why we're not going. We set the boat speed at the beginning when we take off from dock to, let's say, 57k, and then we have another number to lower that speed before we go into the course, which doesn't seem right.
Yeah, that's
if you ask me.
Yeah.
And then there's another number for the 41 meter segment, which is like after the ramp, where the higher you go with that number, the faster. Let me see. Yeah, the higher number you go, it raises the speed that the boat has to get to.
Okay.
So basically, it's like the second number is to make up time if there's some lost before, or it's very complicated.
Yeah, sounds like, yeah. But that doesn't seem right to me. Okay, so let me put it this way. In jump, there's quite a bit that happens before the boat even gets in the course, right? So
yeah.
Pretty much you're already done with your countercut by the time the boat gets into the jump course, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
As opposed to slalom, say, where the boat, for instance, approaches the course, meaning the gates, the red gates, slightly faster to compensate for the slowing down of the gates, right? That seems a bit of a mismatch.
Yeah, that's something and professional jumpers, they started playing with that, taking advantage of it, obviously, because if you go, what we measure is the times that have to come out. If you go in slow, you can come out faster on the other end, and the way where you come out is where the ramp is. So obviously, if you go in slow, you can come out faster, and still get the correct times, which is fine, works fine. But I don't understand why we set the speed to 57 and why make it like from skier to skier different. It's very, very confusing to me.
Yeah, because I mean these things are called speed control systems. That's one of the names they give them, right? So you would think that their job is to keep 35 miles per hour 0.0 throughout, right?
Exactly. I don't. Why do we call it 57 when the boat? I mean, I got some examples. I mean, when I jump, being a heavy jumper, I'm 200 pounds, 90 kilos. I have to go in usually at a higher speed because I'm stronger. I pull the boat down more than other people. If I go in at slow speed, it's never going to accelerate as much as for other people. Okay. So I have to go. My power factor has to be higher all the time. If I go into the course with if other people go with power factor 4, which is whatever 55.2k, I have to go with power factor 5 at least, which is 55.6 or 7k. I don't know if that's the exact numbers, but it's a difference. I have to go in higher speed just because the boat won't be able to accelerate as much for me as it does for other people.
Got it.
Which is something I don't quite understand why we do it that way. Mm-hmm. If you ask me, we have the technology, the system. The boat should go in at 57k the way the rules are. It says we're jumping 57k, but we're already going into the course much slower, so we can accelerate more.
Yeah,
doesn't make sense to me.
So, I mean, okay. So let me put it this way, and then you can destroy my little understanding. So the way in which we know if it's 57 or not is through the time that the zero off reads back to you in between a point and another point, right? So.
Exactly.
So you can achieve that time by going 57.0 at all times, or you can achieve it by going 55 and then 59 and then back to 55, and then it can still be the same time.
Exactly, yes.
So what I understand you saying is that's the second case is what has been going on. Why don't we use the first system to begin with?
Yeah, it does make sense. I mean, it's basically we're cheating on ourselves. We're not going 57k. For the jumpers, most jumpers will be, and for me as well, I mean, I want the boat to accelerate into the bottom ramp. It feels nicer. You're going to jump further, obviously, which is perfectly fine. But the problem is it's not going to be the same for everybody, which is something we try to achieve through the speed control system. We want it to be exactly the same for everybody, level the playing field, give the same chances to everybody. But just by me knowing that I'm heavier, I know I have to go in faster because the boat won't accelerate as much into the bottom of the ramp.
Yeah.
So that just takes speed swing away from me, maximum speed. With the new zero off, actually, there's one of the newer updates. I don't know, it's 5 or 6 years ago now. We can measure the MT, which is the time the boat has, the speed the boat has when the skier hits the ramp, or supposedly hits the ramp.
Yeah.
So the maximum speed, and it just makes it easy if you jump with other people. You can compare that, which should be the most. I mean, even the times, they're interesting, but the most important thing is how fast is the boat when you hit the ramp. And for me, training with other people, I've usually in average I have 1K slower than everybody else, and we've played around with numbers as much as we could, and we never really got there. So I don't know if it's something I'm doing wrong, or it's just something the system's not doing right.
Yeah. Well, Bon, like I don't know, but it seems to me that again, we're not using the speed control system for what it's supposed to do, to control speed, like to keep it the same, right? So yeah. And have you talked to other jumpers? Like, do they know about this? I mean, of course they must know.
I'm sure they do. I mean, I've talked to other jumpers. Being on this far end of the spectrum, on the heavy side of the spectrum, obviously I realize it more because it's more of a disadvantage for me. Talking to other heavy jumpers like Spack, I talked to him, he said, yeah, that's a problem. Talking to other people who are really light, they're like, that's just the way it is, that's the way the cookie crumbles. You're too heavy, too fat. I'm like, yes, I am too fat. I have to fight gravity already. Why should I have to fight against the speed system as well, the speed control system?
Yeah, I think I'm trying to make a parallel for slalom skiing because, that's what the majority of listeners probably do. It would be as if not only you're short, but also the boat is working against you, like it's a...
Yeah.
Because, you can make the argument from a physics standpoint. Oh, yeah, if you're lighter, like you're going to fly longer, so why don't you lose weight, Shut up, Claudio. But then if also you have the system working against you, that seems like a double... an unnecessary obstacle.
And it doesn't have to, yeah.
Exactly.
It doesn't have to. That's what bothers me. I mean, we have the technology to make it 57 all the way through. Yeah, people are going to jump very short. It's going to feel like crap, but it's going to be the same for everybody. Another option would be, okay, we got to have a minimum speed for everybody to enter the course. So you can't go lower and lower with the numbers to get a maximum speed swing, but also a maximum speed the boat can achieve, and that has to be a speed that can be achieved by everybody.
Yeah.
Like for every skier. The stronger the boats are, the smaller the difference is. Okay, with a very strong boat, it's going to be maybe half a kilometer an hour on the ramp. But with weak boats, it's up to 2.5 kilometers an hour. Like I've jumped with. I can only talk about my training partners. Vladi from Russia, he's one of my training partners, and he gets 1.5 to 2K MT. So that's the speed the boat has when the skier hits the ramp. More than me, which is ridiculous. I mean, imagine for slalom skiing, imagine for one person the boat goes 59 and the other one 57.
Yeah, I hope I'm the one that goes 57, but
exactly. I mean, it's just an insane difference.
Yeah, it is huge
if you think about it.
No, it's huge. Yeah. Wow. Yeah, well, I gotta say, I wasn't particularly aware of this issue. I mean, maybe because I don't jump that far, or I don't have anyone jumping super far here, but that's a big difference.
It definitely is. And I mean, I'm very happy. One of the jumpers that know the system better than I do, Freddie, Ryan, or, those people involved with Zero Off, please reach out to me, explain to me what I'm doing wrong, what numbers I have to change. But I mean, I tried a lot and it's just not really working.
Yeah, and it seems to me like, okay, yeah, maybe there is a solution from a number standpoint, but it seems that that's compensating from an issue before, right? Like the fact that the boat is going in slow and is accelerating different for different skiers afterwards.
Yeah, and different. I mean, the acceleration, if it accelerates different, doesn't matter. But the maximum speed swing or the maximum speed the boat can reach should be the same for everybody. I mean, there's no reason why I should get less speed out of the boat than, let's say, any other competitor.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the things that's holding us back from bigger tournaments, bigger things. It's just we're not using the technology we have in the right way.
No, I mean, for sure. I'm a little taken back because again, I wasn't aware of this issue, but it sounds like it's a big problem, you know?
It's not, I guess it's, I mean, to me it is a big problem. To the others, nobody has raised awareness of this, so I'm just trying to question it a little bit.
Yeah.
Why are we doing things the way we do? And obviously, you know, people, you know, who's involved with developing the zero off, and those people. I mean, Freddie. I think Freddie is the main driving force with developing the zero off, and he developed it, and it feels nice, and it's just, I think it's safer than the perfect pass. But obviously, the way he developed it is for his jumping style.
Yeah.
He's not going to develop it for somebody else, but it works the best for him. That's why people try to imitate his jumping more and more.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, Ryan jumps a totally different way, but Ryan, if you ask me, he only really got the dominant jumper he is today, beating everybody at all the tournaments, since he switched boat companies and has more of insight of development of this cruise control system, I think.
Yeah, it could be. It could very well be, you know. Well, why don't maybe it's time for you to change your working schedule or plans, you know?
What do you mean, like
start working for zero off, you know?
No, I don't have no interest in it, and I think those guys they have, you know, they know the industry best, they know everything's going on behind it, but I still don't quite understand why we should make it so it's different from skier to skier when we're trying to make it as even as possible for everybody. We don't change the ramp from skier to skier.
Yeah, no, for sure.
I prefer a really heavy hitting ramp. I don't want a jumpy ramp, you know, because I'm strong, but
right.
But we don't change it in between skiers.
No, for sure. Wow. Yeah. Look, let's switch back to performance for a second. What is like, give me some more highlights. So after those 07, 08, 09, you know, like, have you ever won Open Europeans?
Very sore.
Sorry.
No. I mean, that's the only, well, not the only thing, but that's one of the tournaments that I've always struggled. I've never quite been able to even podium at the Europeans.
Podium? Oh, okay.
Not even. So and being ranked, I think top 10 worldwide for the last 10 years maybe, and top 5 in Europe, that's really, really, really something that I'm really pissed off about, you know?
Yeah, no, yeah, I would imagine. What is, like, give me, I remember last year, you were top seed in Spain last year, right? Into the final?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Top seed. I mean, yeah, going in, I was jumping decent, top seed, and I don't know what happened, and I just couldn't put it together. It's been a few years now, and I think now it's in my head as well. It's more mental now than anything else. Mm-hmm. I remember coming out of junior, I had this 1 year when I was jumping really, really well. I was basically every tournament I went to, I won, and I had good jumpers there. Bojan was there, Vladi. I mean, people that, you know, won tournaments over the years,
yep.
And I beat them everywhere. And then we went to the Europeans, and it was in Norway. I was in the lead after prelims, and in the final I went out, and on the first jump I sucked the tip, and I was lucky enough to recover.
I remember that one.
It's a pretty good video on YouTube from Tony. Tony was there to webcast the whole thing, and I mean, the tip was down. I was able to pull it back up. I didn't crash, luckily, but after that my confidence was gone, and I didn't place anywhere. So, and from that moment on, I had a few times I got close, and I never was able to put it together.
Yeah. Is it like, what is it? Is it pressure? And is it just like about Europeans, or do you experience that at other tournaments as well?
I've gotten fairly inconsistent. Like I tend to try and push too much. Mm-hmm. Like I want to go too far. I want to do much better than like in practice. I want to step it up a little bit instead of just doing what I do in practice. One thing that happened that really derailed my...
Whoa,
sorry.
That's all right.
One thing that really derailed my hopes of, you know, winning the Europeans was, maybe it was 2015 or 2014. I had been jumping really well. I'd broken the Austrian record in the spring. Jumped my PB 227 at Bennett's, and I came back to Europe and did really good in Fischlham, which is a hard place to jump at. I jumped 68 or 67 there, and then we went to Linz after, and Linz, jumpers know Linz is one of the best sites in the world to jump far, and I was overly motivated to actually finally break the 70-meter barrier, break the record in front of the, like, no crowd, but like in front of my coaches, my friends, and everybody. And sure enough, I tried to push a little bit too hard, went out the front. Was somewhat lucky that I didn't get seriously injured, but I knocked myself out and had a pretty bad concussion, but no other injuries. I walked away from it, but ever since that, my confidence has been not quite the same. Mm-hmm. And also the willingness to risk it all is not quite there anymore.
I see. But have you been, it sounds like you've been far since then, maybe not as far, but.
Yeah, I've been far, but just not consistent. Mm-hmm. I don't know what it is. I tend to pull, I know what it is, but I don't know why I do it. Like, I tend to pull up my arms, go on my heels, especially when I have good cuts into the bottom of the ramp, but just don't have the confidence to attack on the ramp. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So I slip out quite a bit, and this is something I've been working on. This year was actually much better. Sadly, there were no tournaments where I was able to prove myself, but it was much better, actually. Mm-hmm. So I've been working on it this year.
So it sounds to me like it's a combination of like mental and technical too.
Yeah, definitely. Technique, you can always work on it, but for me, I know, I feel everything that's going on, and then on the ramp I pull my arms up, and I think it's 90+% mental. Mm-hmm,
mm-hmm. Now, because my background, and I'm glad to hear that it sounds like this year was working better, how did you go about it? Like, just being aware of it and trying your best not to do it, or did you do some drills? What helped you?
What helped me was this year's just, there was no pressure whatsoever to perform. Uh-huh. I knew there was no tournaments coming, so I was able to go take a few steps back and just take it easy, enjoy it again. There were years when I went out and I was jumping and I was just terrified going off the dock. Something could happen. I had a lucky career, knock on wood, so far, without any serious injuries. So I want to walk away from skiing one day, because one day I'll retire, obviously, from skiing without any major injuries. So it's just in the back of my head.
Yeah.
I don't know. That something could happen that potentially could not only end the career, but also alter the rest of my life.
No, for sure. No, it's I think that's that ever-present thing about jumping, right? In a way, it's so peculiar about that event. Like, I don't think trickers or slalom skiers think that way, because just it's not the nature of their event.
Although it happens as well. There's a lot of injuries in jumping and slalom and tricking as well. But just looking at jumping, the more apparent risk is with jumping.
Yeah. I think I've said it before. It's just that, I consider it an extreme sport in the sense that, provided technique and everything else, the more you're willing to risk, the more the game possibly, right?
Definitely, yeah. No, that's why when you look at the jumping, if you look at the pro ranks, usually it's 3 or 4 guys that are 35 plus that have made it through, and 4 or 5 guys who are less than 22, 23 years old. They come up, and a few in between, very few in between. So usually what is, the young guns, they come up, they have a lot of courage, they don't think about the consequences, and they start jumping far. The way the sport works, usually a lot of them crash, get hurt, they have to quit. And then there's a few that make it through, and they're the 35 plus year olds that have the proper technique, they know how, when and where to take the risk, and that are able to continue to do it.
Yeah, no, it's true. There's that paradigm in jump for sure in the rankings. So back to this year, like, what was it that it helped you? Obviously the lack of pressure to perform, but I'm assuming you're a jumper, like, you still want to go far.
Oh, definitely. No, I want to go far. Otherwise, I'd quit a long time ago. I want to jump far. I want to get better. And for me, I thought, taking a few steps back, trying to work on my technique as well as on that mental part, getting jumps under my belt without any injuries, without any crashes, is just gonna make me get back to where I want to be.
Yeah. So that confidence that comes from doing the set, doing the way you envision it, go back to the dock, go back the next day, do the set. I like the confidence that comes from proper repetition.
Exactly. Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. And I know this is such a weird question to ask given the times we've had with the coronavirus, but like 2021, right? Provided things go back to normal, and I'm doing an air quote with my fingers, like a lot of tournaments next year,
Definitely. I mean, I want to get back into the thick of things. It's just, it's as you said, back to normal. We'll see what the new normal is. If we're going to be able to travel, if those tournaments are still going to be able to raise funds, because obviously, sponsors they're going through tough times as well.
Yeah.
And I think only time will tell if it's going to be a somewhat normal summer with competitions.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. But it sounds like at the very least there might be more competitions that we can attend than this year.
Hopefully.
So what, we're in December, it's cold, there's snow where you are, there was snow where I am. What are the next 2 or 3 months looking like? Just, hitting the gym and getting ready for next year in the hope that there's some tournaments, or?
Well, actually, what I'm doing right now is, obviously going to the gym as much as you can. The gyms are closed, so I was lucky enough, as I said earlier, I have a little gym at home, work some there, and I'll be working as a snow ski instructor.
There you go.
No, my pharmacy degree from the US, it didn't exactly transfer right away, so I had to go to university. I graduated from university in Austria last May. So now I have the pharmacy degree in Austria, and obviously I want to start working in that field. And I potentially have a job here in Austria in May, which I should start working, unless an opportunity opens up for me to go back to the US. But that's all right now. Traveling and visa issues is not very easy at the moment.
Yeah. Do you have a preference? Like, would you see yourself more in Austria or in the US?
You know what? I lived in the US for 10 years, and you just moved back. When you first come back, it's like, I want to go back to the US so bad. The longer I stay here, the harder it's going to be for me to go back. Just, you build friendships again. You build like connections over here. My sisters had 2 babies, so the family has grown, and now I got the prospect of a job here. So we'll see whatever, if the right opportunity comes up, I'd like to go back, but I'm not 100% sure what's going to happen.
Yeah. Well, in a sense, it's almost like, if you leave it up to your professional career, it's almost easier. Like you have the reason, okay, that's why I'm going there, or that's why I'm staying here, If you start overthinking the other reasons, like it can become very hard to set your mind on it,
It is. Strictly professionally seen, if I want to continue skiing, I need to go to the US. If I want to earn more money, I need to go to the US. But, other things come into play. It's not that easy.
Not that easy. No, for someone that has just made that decision a few months ago, I know it's not easy. And it's weird because I've also received offers for jobs there whilst I was here. And I'm like, come on, like this is too early, leave me alone with my decision at least for a while, let me see if it works out.
Yeah.
But it is a challenging decision, like after 10 years, 12 for me, like, it's a long time to spend somewhere else.
No, definitely. And you have your friendships over there, and no matter, the internet is great, but no matter how long, over time, it's just harder and harder to keep up over the internet, even no matter how good the friendship is.
Yeah.
if you don't see each other in person, it's really, really hard.
Yeah, it is. I mean, that's what this year taught us, right? If there's one thing, hopefully we learned more, but,
Yeah.
that's definitely one thing. All right. So any tournaments, okay, again, provided everything, but like any tournaments you're looking forward to next year? I mean, you saw the Worlds are going to be at Jax. I mean, that's a proper site to do Worlds.
They decided on my first junior worlds, or my first world championship, so I want to go back there for sure. Definitely an improvement over the last few sites we had the worlds at.
Yeah, because you were in Malaysia, right, last year?
I was in Malaysia, yes.
And was it fun?
It was a pleasure. I mean, I think enough has been said about that tournament and the decision to hold it there.
Yeah. Well,
and I'm really glad they decided to have it in Florida, which might not attract as many spectators, which we had none in Malaysia anyways, but
right.
It might not attract as many spectators, but we can guarantee that the best skier is going to win, and I think that's very important for a world championship.
Yeah, it seems to be the most important thing almost,
And it's safe.
Yeah, that's the other thing. I mean, so many injuries last year there. And on top of this, like I would say, in a further improvement in the sense that, like, Jax has a long history of great jump scores and great slalom scores. So it seems
definitely no, it's a man-made lake. Its conditions are perfect. I mean, you were there at those junior worlds, right?
Yeah, I was.
Conditions are hard there. When a hurricane comes to town, it's going to be challenging. But I mean,
yeah,
you can't control the weather. Everything else around is perfect there.
Yeah, no, it really is. And then what else? We got Europeans in Greece. And by the way, I don't know if we didn't speak about this. You skied the Masters before, right? Dude.
Yes.
That's big.
Yeah. The Masters, I mean, it's... I'm going to step on some toes here, I think.
Okay, go on.
No, it's a great tournament. Skiing there was a dream of mine. Growing up as a junior, I told you I was I'll make it into the finals. I was never there, but I still, watched my friends go to the Masters. I wanted to go and qualify so bad. When I didn't qualify, I was devastated.
Right.
I thought I'd never make it. And especially in jump, I thought that would never happen. But then I ended up qualifying a few years later.
How did you qualify? Through LCQ, through Pro Rank?
LCQ, yeah.
Oh, nice.
LCQ, and that's where kind of like my issue with the Masters starts. First of all, LCQ, we skied, I qualified, I was super pumped up about it, and then the first thing, like, I don't know who it was, this person from the Masters, she comes up to me and she's like, no congratulations, nothing. She's like, are you going to ski there? I was like, because you need to know. And I'm like, yeah, of course I'm going to ski. And he's like, and the next thing without hesitation was, how are you going to pay for it? Like, no.
Whoa.
I mean, how are you going to pay for the tournament? It was a bit of okay, well, I guess I'll send you guys my credit card information, whatever. And then just going there, and it was awesome. I'd gone many times before and watched, and I really appreciated it. It's a cool tournament, really great to watch. Everybody from all over the US come, and it's the biggest thing for the Americans. Going there, skiing there, it was... first it was a really hard site to ski at,
yep.
But the way it's run, it's really professional, but besides everybody saying it's prestigious, it's not that bad, not that good of a tournament, if you ask me.
Go on. Yeah, no, I'm curious to hear.
No, just the experience I had the year I qualified at the LCQ. I went there and Jimmy Seamers was qualified. Nobody knew why he was qualified. He was on the list, and he rolled up, and I talked to Jimmy, and he's like, man, how did you qualify? He's like, man, I don't know. I've been practicing for the last 2 months. I hadn't jumped before, whatever. I'm really excited to go. And then when we got there, they're like, oh, Jimmy, we sent you an invitation, and he was not supposed to go to you. So they didn't let him ski there.
What? So he was a Callaway? He showed up and did...
Yeah, he was tricking anyways, but he showed up, and they're like, oh, actually, you didn't qualify, so they didn't let him ski. And then in the same breath, they took another skier it was Bojan, a really good friend of mine. They took Bojan to ski as well as an additional skier, although he didn't really officially qualify. He beat the qualifying distance, but he didn't win the LCQ, which is how you qualify.
Right.
So, it's just the way they interpret the rules is... very, very strange to me. And then just the whole thing, you go there, there's only 7 or 8 people per event invited. You have to pay your $350 or whatever, how much it is now, dollars of entry fee. And if you place top 10 or top 7 in the world, which is it's supposed to be a top best 7 in the world, if you place top 7 in the world at any tournament in any sport that has cash prize, everybody gets some money. If you don't place in the top 4, you don't get any money. It's just a huge money dump. It's going to cost you $1,000 to go there.
Yeah.
With hotel, entry fee, transportation, the meals and everything. It's just going to be really, really expensive. And I don't think it should be that way.
Yeah.
If it's invitational, there should be no entry fee. If you only invite the best 7 skiers in the world, they shouldn't pay. Or at least make it, okay, they pay their $300 entry fee, but the last place at least gets $500 back. So it's not that much of a money dump. That's the way I see it.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I mean, I can resonate with that. I guess the reason why I never, although I know all of these things, the reason why I never thought about them is that I never managed to go. You know, like I still.
I mean, you've been as a junior.
Yeah, but it's different.
I guess junior is a little different.
It's
different.
Yeah. Like I, the dream that you held up until you got to go, I still have it. You know, like I dream to go to the Masters. But then I'm pretty sure that as soon as I do qualify, whenever that will happen, that rationale will come into my mind pretty quickly too.
Yeah, and I mean, and don't get me wrong, it's a very exciting tournament to be part of, but it's not the prestigious thing that's made out to be.
Well, I'll still.
That's just the way I feel.
No, but you're not the first one.
Sound.
Listen, you're not the first one that tells me. You know, you're not the first one that tells me. So there must be some truth behind that. Did you feel though the prestige once you showed up, or were you still a little like thrown away by send me your credit card as soon as possible? Like when you showed up to Callaway, you got your skis, your ski bag.
Yeah, you're excited, you're part of it, you get your little wristbands, you get a nice little jacket, it's fine, you take the picture with the athletes, but then there's nothing that makes you feel special, nothing that's any different from any other tournaments. We get treated better at other tournaments, to be honest.
Okay.
Like I remember, I haven't been to tons of tournaments, but going to LA Night Jam, get treated much better. It's just, you feel welcomed, and at the Masters is like, okay, you're here for us, for our entertainment, and if you don't like something, shut up, or we're not going to invite you ever again, which is probably going to happen now. Even now, I'm just...
Well, Claudio, I'm sorry, but you're not going to 2021 or 2022 Masters.
It's a shame. They can invite me again once the entry fee falls.
What other tournaments, like, because you ski quite a few pro events in jump, you mentioned LA Night Jam. I know you skied several others. You skied Mumba before?
I skied Mumba twice. That's, for me, Mumba, that's by far the best tournament. It's the most exciting. It's the site, it's also challenging. It's not that good, but it's, there's spectators all around. The city is exciting. And you get appreciated. I think that's the way.
Yeah.
That's just the way I felt about it. Although, I mean, it's very, you can ask the question again about Mumba and the entry fee. I mean, if you want to go do jump and night jump, it's going to cost you 660 or 600 or 700 euros now, I think it is, or whatever, Aussie dollars, which is outrageous for considering the fact that you have to fly across half the world, or most of the people have to fly across half of the globe to get there. So you have to place at least top 5 to break even.
Yeah, that's a huge problem we have,
In skiing in general.
Yeah. And I would say, like, in slalom skiing, actually, it's a little bit better off,
I think slalom skiing is even worse because it's much harder to make the final because there's more people.
Yeah. No, but I'm talking about opportunity, right? Like, so, in a sense, you can ski. Look at what happened in the US just now, which happened last year in Europe. You get to ski 6 tournaments in 5 weeks. Maybe you don't place in one, but you place at the next one. All of a sudden, travel cost narrows down, right? But the way the things are in jump, or they used to be in slalom, is 1 weekend you're here, after 3 weekends you're on the other side, and it's all cost, and you have to be consistently top 3 or 4 to just break even. It's a challenge.
No, I mean that's one of the problems in skiing in general. I mean, who's still involved in skiing. I mean, I'm looking at jumping as well again. It's the older people that have the sponsorships, that have companies. They work for skiing companies. They have their own ski schools. And then if you look at the nations that have strong skiers, or the nations that are still funded, the Belarusians have strong skiers. The Russians, they're still funded. I don't think France is having much funding anymore, and they'll feel it in the next few years. I think Italy has a pretty good. I don't know if you guys are funded, but you have pretty good incentives to win the tournaments. From what I understand,
it's the opposite. We are funded, but we don't have the incentives anymore. We used to have both, but now like we're funded for our training, right? So we get training paid. Yeah.
So those are the only nations that survive, really.
Yeah.
Because same thing that happens to me now. I have to enter work life.
It's a bit different. Yeah.
The good days are over. I won't be able to train as much. I won't be able to compete, and it's just tough. If there was more money involved, people would be sticking with it longer, and there'd be more competitive people out there.
Yeah. And as you know, I'm at least when it comes to slalom, that's what I've been trying to do in my own little work. Now, maybe this is a good way to maybe end, but like, okay, so work life is coming, or close. We don't know where yet, but it's coming. And yet here you are, here in the gym, still training hard. Why? What pushes you to do it?
I mean, obviously the competitive spirit in me, it's still there. I want to be good. I want to compete. I want to, if the next summer comes with tournaments, and if I strap on my skis, if I find the time, I want to be able to tell myself I've done everything possible during winter to be in shape and compete and perform my best.
Yeah. Well, that's cool to hear. Like, I think competitiveness can fade away. Like when life hits you in the face, maybe that's not your. It kind of goes away after a while. But it sounds like for you, it didn't go away.
Oh, competitive drive is still there. I mean, what I do right now on the weekends, my brother-in-law comes over and my dad, and we play board games, and boy, and then that competitive spirit is right there. I get pissed off if I don't win. And
is it Catan? Do you guys play Catan?
Yeah, we play quite a bit of Catan and some other games as well. I mean, it's just really, really competitive, and usually we do like 4 or 5 hour sessions, and by the end of it, we go to bed and we don't speak to each other.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. Good to see you. Yes, good to see you. Let's do this again next week.
Yeah. I hate you.
Dude. Look, this was fun, man. We've been at it for a couple of hours. Anyone you want to thank? Any shout outs? Anything else?
Well, I want to thank you for having me on.
Aww. So nice.
No, I mean, obviously I got to thank my parents for, bringing me to skiing and enabling me, or not enabling, giving me the possibility to ski. And yeah, I hope people enjoyed listening to the podcast. And again, Freddie or Ryan or whoever knows Zero Off best, please feel free to contact me and tell me what I have to use to jump better.
Yeah, and if you don't have, you have his number, guys. Just get in touch with Claudio. He needs to understand. Dude, listen, this was a pleasure. I'm glad we got to do it. I really wish we would have done it in person, but it's just not the way things are working right now. How's COVID there? Is it getting any better?
We're just coming out of a hard lockdown, and well, the numbers are pretty high, but we'll see where it's going to go.
Okay, yeah. Seems like the recurring story.
My headphones just ran out of battery, so actually I can't hear you anymore. Bye-bye.
No, hold on. What do you mean? Hold on.
Wait, I can hear you. Yeah, but now you're going to hear yourself. Sorry.
No worries. No, I don't hear myself.
Well, I guess on the recording it's going to be you as well.
Yeah. Listen, dude, again, thanks a lot.
Yeah, appreciate it, man.
Yeah.
Good talk. Thank you.